Hello, kindergartners. Today we're going to be starting the first day of a project that's going to take us a couple of weeks to complete. Now, the first pictures that you're going to see pop up on your screen are pictures that have fall colors, the oranges, the yellows, and the browns, and there's even different shades of oranges and yellows in there. Those are what we call our warm colors. After the fall pictures, you'll notice that some winter pictures are going to be popping up. Now, those winter pictures have what we call our cool colors. I see some blues, grays, purples, even some different shades of blues like a dark blue and a turquoise blue and a navy blue. Well, we call those our cool colors, those wintry colors. And remember, we call the fall colors our warm colors, the oranges, the yellows, and the browns. The project that we're going to do today is going to be set in a snowy scene. So we're going to want to concentrate on our cool colors. Okay, kindergartners, now we're ready to start our project. Now you'll notice that you have a paper that looks like this. Your little squares might be different colors than mine. Mrs. Walker helped us put these together and chose lots of different background colors so that each one would be different. Now, paper clipped to that, you'll find 3 little white squares. Now this is special paper called watercolor paper. You can set your blue paper aside. We're not going to need that quite yet. And here's what I got to get ready for my project. I got a paper towel so that I could set my papers right on top of that, and I'll do one of them at a time. You'll need your watercolor paints. And I got a container. This is my special container that I always use for watercolor painting. And it's just an old jar that had like pesto sauce in it. Another great jar to use would be a yogurt container or a sour cream container, something plastic that's left over. That's what we use in our classroom. Now, when I went to get water, I only filled this about halfway full. That's going to be our rule for whenever we use watercolor paints. We'll just fill it halfway. It might get kind of dirty, and so we might need to change our water, but when we go dump it out, we dump it into the sink and then fill it again halfway. Now I'm going to move my white papers out of the way for just a minute because I wanted to show you the paints. Now the paints, oh, you are so lucky. These are brand new, never been used paints, and they are for you. Now, we want to be careful with our paints, and I want to show you the way that you're going to use them. So when I use watercolor paints, the reason that they're called watercolor is because they're activated by water. And so the first thing that I want to do is put a little bit of water into the color that I'm going to use. Now, just a little bit ago, we talked about warm colors and cool colors. So if I look here, and I look on this side of my paint palette, I can see some of those warm colors, the fall colors, the oranges, the reds, the different shades of yellow. Those are fall colors, remember, warm colors. We're not going to use those today. We want to stick more with the blues and the purples and maybe a tiny bit of the green. But really, these colors right in here are going to be our cool colors. So I'm going to start with this blue, and I'm going to put some water in it to get it activated. So I just dip my brush into the water and add some water to this little paint palette. Now I want to kind of mush it around a little bit, but I don't want to stab at it and make a big mess out of it because I just want to get that texture ready so that it's ready to paint. Now here's the trick about watercolor. If I want to change colors and let's say go to this purple, I need to rinse my brush off first. So I'm going to put it in here in the water. Oh, look at how beautiful that turned. And I'm going to rinse, 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 swish, swish. And then I can put some fresh water into the purple palette. Get a little bit more fresh water, put that in there, and just get those colors going. I know for sure I'm going to use this color blue too, so I'll wash my brush and I'll get this next color activated with a little bit of water. Okay, now I'm ready to start painting. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Remember, I'm sticking with my blues and purples because I'm painting a winter scene. Now this is going to sound a little bit weird, but we're not actually going to paint a picture on these papers. We're just going to paint the background. It's almost like the sky, but the whole thing is going to be our sky. Now on your papers, you'll feel a smooth side and a bumpy side. We want to paint on the bumpy side. The bumpy side is the best side for painting when you have watercolor. Now, I'm just going to show you this brush. If I paint like this, like I'm holding it like a paintbrush or a pencil, and just use the tip, it's just going to make small little lines. So for this project where I'm covering the whole paper, I'm going to tip my brush a little bit and use the side of the brush. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to get mine wet and get a little paint, and I'm just going to lay it kind of on its side and paint. Oh, do you see how that's kind of getting dry? It doesn't have enough water. I need to get a little more water in there and put a little more paint on my brush and keep painting. I want to go all the way over to the edges. Now, because I can choose any one of those cool colors, I might change it up and move over to a little darker blue and mix that darker blue in there. Get a little more of the dark blue, add that in. Now let's say I think, oh, I love the dark color purple. That's a cool color. So I can add a little bit of that purple. Ooh, look at how that blends. I think I want to add a little more of that. I love that purpley color. So I'm going to just lay my brush on the side and just paint all the way to the edges. I think that purple color might be my favorite. That's beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to finish. Oh, I'll show you just like this. See how it looks if I just go back and forth with just the tip? It just is a lot easier if I lay the brush on its side a little bit, and it makes it go a little faster to get all the way to the edge. Now you'll notice that I didn't put a ton of water on it, but it still kind of curls a little bit. That's why I got the paper towels out, so that we can lay that to dry on my paper towel. And I'm gonna open this up so it gives us a little bit more space here, because we don't want to get that all over our table. So the first one is finished, and now I'm going to move on to the second one. Again, I'm going to look at my paper and say, oh, this is the soft, smooth side. This is the bumpy side. And again, I'm not painting a picture. I'm just painting my background. Now, one thing I want to know is, what color is this? It kind of looks black, but I can't really tell. So I'm going to test it out on my paper towel. Oh, look at that. It's a darker purple. That's a cool color too. The purples and the blues are our cool colors. So I'm going to start with that same color I started with before, and I just want to start painting that side, but I loved this new color that I just discovered. So I'm going to add some of that in, and maybe I'll add a little bit more. I'll just quickly get all the way to the edge with that. And I want to change my color, so I clean my brush with the water. Clean my brush before I change colors. Oh, these are just going to be beautiful backgrounds. And it almost kind of looks rainbowish, and that's fine, because sometimes the sky, when the sun's going down, or even when the sun's just coming up, the sky will be lots of different colors. And so we can just blend these colors, we can mix these colors. And one thing about being an artist is I know when to say stop. I know when to say, oh, that's pretty enough. I think I can be done now. It's hard for me to get at this angle so you guys can see when I'm up at this very tippy top. But you get the idea. We're just going to put these beautiful colors on here. Make sure I get all the way over those edges. Make sure I got that edge. And that one's about ready to dry too. So I'm done with 1, 2, and now I'm ready for number 3. I found the bumpy side again, and I'm going to decide what colors I want to use. The cool colors, those blues and the purples. And I'm just going to put those colors on there. Don't forget to change, when you change colors, you wash your brush. Now, I'm looking at my paint water, and my paint water is not getting too mucky. Sometimes it starts to get kind of black and icky colors. Mine's not really getting mucky, so I don't need to change it yet. But if it gets too dark, you can just dump that in the sink and then fill it again halfway. Oops, I forgot this bottom corner. I better go back with a little bit of purple and put some purple in there. Now this is going to be the background for my snowman picture. So I'm going to come back on a, oops, there's a little spot here that we missed. I'm going to come back on a different day when these are all dry, and then I'm going to paint the actual snowman with some white paint. Hold this down so you can see it. With some white paint, and we're going to add some fun details on here too. Okay, so I think I'm just about done with my 3 background pages. I'm going to double check and make sure I've gotten all of the spots and everything is covered. I'll let these dry right on the paper towel so it doesn't get my table all icky. And now for the fun part, you guys. You are welcome to do art with these watercolors. If you just want to have a blank piece of white paper, and don't forget to clean your brush in between times when you change colors. That's a fun thing to paint some pictures. So have fun painting pictures and experimenting with these watercolors. When you're done, you can just take a little bit of a paper towel and get those colors that have kind of made a mess around the edge. And then I usually leave this open to dry, and that way it's all nice and neat. And when I close it up, it'll be all dry and ready for the next time I want to paint. So. Okay, that was step 1. We're going to let that dry, and then I'll be back with the next steps.